Miss Horton's class. Hi, Miss Horton and all the kids. We miss you so much. This is Miss Leah and
Latif.
And I'm still your art docent, even if we're not at school. And so I'm going to take you on a very fast art lesson today. Okay? We're going to be talking about Vincent van Gogh in specific. And then as we get back to school, I will see if I can take some more videos and walk you guys through a little bit more of art history. And we'll do a couple art projects at home. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. Here, let's get going. All right, guys. Vincent van Gogh was a Dutch painter, and he lived a lot of his life in the country of France. And that's where he did a lot of his most famous work. We've talked about Vincent van Gogh before, and you're even going to recognize one of these paintings. But all three of these paintings are nighttime paintings. So I want to focus on that, and we're going to go all three of them, and we're going to go how they were painted. So the first one was painted in 1888, and it's called Cafe Terrace at Night. Cafe Terrace at Night. So this is the first painting where he used a starry background. He went on to paint star-filled skies in Starry Night over the Rhone, which we're going to see, and the even better known The Starry Night a year later. This was painted in the city of Arles in France in mid-September of 1888. And this painting is not signed. Remember, we see a lot of painters or drawers, they'll sign their names on the bottom. Vincent van Gogh didn't do that to this painting, which makes it pretty special. And he described it by saying, "On the terrace, there are little figures of people drinking. A huge yellow lantern lights the terrace, the facade, the pavement, even project lights over the cobblestones of the street." So you see how the light is shining, and the cobblestones are rocks. So there's texture here. And the lines are little curved lines so it can show the stones. The blue sky studded with stars are dark blue or violet with a green tree. Now there's a painting of night without black. So you see how he didn't actually paint the sky black. And sometimes we think that the sky at night is a little bit scary, but the sky is never truly black. It's just really, really, really dark blue. So Vincent van Gogh actually describes that really nicely because he didn't just paint everything in black. He used very dark shades of blue and used black only for shadows and for lines. You see these railings and the windows that he painted on the cafe terrace. The outlines of the chairs, the lines of the cobblestone. He said, "I enormously enjoy painting on the spot. I find that it suits me to paint the thing right away. It's quite true that I may take a blue for a green in the dark." So he might mistake the colors because he can't see them very well at night. But it's the only way of getting away from using the regular black for the night sky. And the sky reminded him of a book that he wanted his sister to read. So when he wrote that to her, and he asked her if she had read that story that he recommended to her. So it's actually really interesting that what he saw and what he painted reminded him of something that he imagined reading in a book. So it's really interesting that books can make you imagine different things in your mind. And then when you go into the world, you can actually see the world a little bit differently because of the stories that you read. So that's a really important thing to note. So again, this one is called Cafe Terrace at Night. All right, guys, here's the second one. This is called Starry Night over the Rhone. It was also painted in 1888. And this is the view of Arles, France, on the bank of the Rhone River. Isn't it interesting how the different colors that we see change from day and night? do we see as well at nighttime? So maybe if we see something that looks like green in the daytime, it might look a little bit different at nighttime. Or if the sun is not shining on them, the colors might not look as bright. Van Gogh used the reflection from gas lighting on the shores of the Rhone. And I'll show you a picture of what gas lighting is. The painting also shows two people in the forefront, but they are not the subject of the painting. They are part of a landscape painting. So he was actually painting nature around him as he saw it. And he wrote about this to his brother Theo, and he said, "The sky is aquamarine, the water is royal blue, the ground is mauve. The town is blue and purple, the gas is yellow, and the reflections are russet gold descending down to green bronze." And then, of course, we see the blue of the dark night sky with all of the stars in the sky. You say stars in French as étoile. You see the étoile in the sky. This one was painted only a couple of months after the cafe night at Terra, the cafe terrace at night. All right, we're gonna go to the last one, and we've actually seen this one before, so I hope you get excited when you recognize it. And this one is called The Starry Night. And this was painted the year later in 1888. And we saw this in the Art Docent day called Artists Paint the World Around Them.
And was it in France?
And this is also in France. That's right, Latif.
Mm-hmm.
Good job. And it's one of the most well-known paintings in the world. And actually, Vincent van Gogh was a little bit sick, and so he stayed in a hospital for a little while. And this is the view. Poor guy, I know. This is the view from his hospital room. And he actually painted this over 20 different times, or he drew it with pencil or different mediums, maybe with chalk or things like that on paper. But this is the only time out of the 20 or more times that he painted it at night. And he actually didn't like it very much, which is surprising to us because we love this one. This is one of the most important paintings ever. But he actually didn't like it very much. He told his brother Theo in a letter, "This morning I saw the countryside from my window a long time before the sunrise, with nothing but the morning star, which looked very big." And actually, scientists looked at this and saw what he told his brother and found that it was the planet Venus that would be visible to Van Gogh at this time, and it would have been the brightest and biggest star in the sky. But it wasn't actually a star, it was the planet Venus. But Vincent didn't know that. So we see a bunch, sorry, I'm moving it around a lot. So we see, of course, the moon here, and we see a lot of stars. And which one is the brightest one? Can you guys point to it? Right, it's this one down here. That would be the brightest one in the sky. But that one was not actually a star. That was the planet Venus. And down here we see a church spire. We see a church, and we see the rolling hills and the city laid out in front of him. Obviously in the background we see mountains, right? And so the church was very important to him, right? And we see all of these little strokes. And my painting is just a painting for home, but if you actually saw this in the museum where it is, which is actually in New York City. So if you ever go to New York City, you can go to the MoMA Museum in New York City, and you can go look at it. It's been there since 1941.
1941?
Yeah.
Wow, that's long.
And it actually has texture to it. So you can see the little strokes that he made with his brush. So there's actually texture to it. So there's a lot of different, sometimes we use long lines. Sometimes they're kind of straight. Sometimes they're curved lines like this, but they're long. In the sky here, we see a lot of very small, short lines that are curved and swirly, which is very interesting. And it gives it more of an abstract look, which is actually why Vincent didn't really like this very much. He was inspired to do that because he was close with another artist named Paul Gauguin.
Paul Gauguin, that's
and Paul Gauguin was an abstract artist that stayed with Vincent van Gogh for a little while. However, it was because it was a little bit more abstract, it wasn't as realistic as he wanted it to look, that he didn't really like it very much. And amazingly, it became his most famous photo ever. And if you guys remember, Vincent didn't sell very much of his art while he was alive. But he is now one of the most well-known artists in the world. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that he never let that stop him. He loved to paint and he always tried. He always did his best. And now look, all these years later, he's one of the most well-known people ever. So that's what determination can do. All right, you guys. So what I want you to do for your art lesson at home is this. So what I want you to do is make a picture of nighttime, but don't use black. You use blues and greens and yellows and white, and you can use a bunch of different kinds of colors to show shades, to show where the light is shining from, maybe a moonlight, maybe light from the stars, maybe light from a city behind you. But don't use the color black. Because we saw Vincent did 3 really important paintings of nighttime, but he didn't paint the sky black at all. He used colors of blues and purples and greens. And I want you guys to all try to do that as well. So if you have paint and your mom and dad want to help you with painting, go for it. If you have markers, go for it. If you have crayons or colored pencils, go for it. Try your best to make a painting or picture however you can, whatever supplies you have at home, and make it of nighttime. And hopefully if you guys do this and you really enjoy it, have your mom or dad take a picture, and maybe we can make a little photo album of all of our artwork and put that together for the end of the school year. Okay, you guys, have a great time doing your art at home. I miss you all. Latif, bye guys.
Bye.
Have fun doing art.